college basketball is back.
I tell you what, I'm super pumped. I've been working on my jump shot. A lot better now.
Are you sure about that? Can you at least hit the rim now?
Occasionally.
Carter, I've got to be honest, you still have more work to do. This is AU Nation. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to AU Nation. Each week we bring together members of the Auburn Student Media Group and discuss the latest topics in sports. I'm Carter Gustin. Thanks to our producer JJ Jackson and our co-host Evan Blank, who couldn't join us today because he's too busy registering for his classes, doing school and such. On today's show, we'll discuss Auburn's loss to Georgia, predict the week's college football playoff rankings, talk some NFL, and finally, play some fun AU Nation trivia.
I'm Noah Gardner. Now let's introduce today's panel of experts. Our first guest today is Stefan Sheffield. He's making his AU Nation debut today, and we're excited to have him with us. Stefan, how are you?
I'm pretty good, honored to be on such a fabulous show with a great group of guys, thanks for having me.
Hey, there you go. Fabulous show. I like it. He's bringing the excitement. Our other expert today is Ben Bracken. He seems to be here with us every other week. I don't know how excited I am about that, though, Ben. He's an Eagle Eye TV sports analyst. Ben, how are you today?
You can call me Drake because I'm on back-to-back weeks. So I'm so excited for talk some sports today, even though there's some that not really excited about, but let's do it.
Straight bars from Ben Bracken.
That's
All right,
right.
let's get started with the Auburn football segment. On Saturday, the Tigers unfortunately did lose to Georgia 13-7. Auburn won 7-0 at halftime. Won the first half 7-0, but the second half wasn't good for the Tigers. A pick six, punt, a couple more punts, turnover and down. Nobody got it. Auburn never got it first half in the second half. It was really bad for the offense. Gentlemen, what do you think went wrong for the Tigers in the second half? Ben?
I don't know, but the Mike man, if it was a home game, he would have gotten a lot of boom at Kevin chance.
Oh, that was a lot. He punted it a lot of times in that game.
Absolutely atrocious. That was the worst offensive performance since the Alabama game in 2012, Gene Chizik's last year. Absolutely just, I don't know what happened. We did not have a lot of healthy players. The team did not have a lot of healthy players. Shaun White was injured. Chandler Cox got injured. Cameron Petway, huge loss this week. The Tigers really struggled offensively. Their defense looked incredible. Held the Bulldogs basically to only 6 points, I'm pretty sure. It was just, the offense was not on its top, just the top.
Yeah, it was not a top-notch performance by any means. You hear pregame, Cameron Petway's out. That was the prelude to what would be a long day filled with injuries for Auburn on both sides of the football. And a lot of them were stingers. These guys should be back in the future. But when you see the Auburn stretch that they had leading up to this game, and Vanderbilt being the game before this, very physical football team. And Vanderbilt definitely, Auburn was feeling the effects of that game heading into Georgia. You play a physical team like Georgia, and it can make it really difficult to do anything offensively when a lot of your best players are hurt. Shaun White dealing with shoulder soreness, Petway's out, Kerryon Johnson still not 100%, Chandler Cox get hurt, Stan Truitt's not at full after his first carry. So the Auburn offense was hobbled heading into this game, and you could definitely see that being an issue. And then not to say that play calling was an issue in the second half, because I don't think you can blame this loss on play calling, but Auburn did only run the football 8 times in the second half, and what they did so well in the first half was mixing inside and outside runs. It's not like Auburn threw a lot in the first half, because they didn't. And Shaun White was actually at a pretty efficient clip at the end of the first half. It was just, I think the coaching staff saw 7 points on the scoreboard. They panicked a little bit too soon and said they needed to start airing it out, and it wasn't working. Auburn needed to run the football in the second half, and that's just not something they did.
I think it's 3 numbers that describe this game. 6, 27, and 39. 6 being the number of completions Shaun White had, 27 being the yards, and 39 being the time possession Georgia had.
Yeah.
Now, when you're starting running back in Cameron Petway, who's not only the 4th leading rusher in the NCAA, but first in the SEC and on the team, when he's out, you have to have a big game from your quarterback. And, Kerryon, he's looking kind of tentative since he's been back. And like you said, Chandler Cox hurt, Shaun White hurt. It didn't look good, In defense, Kevin Steele, I'll take that as a win, holding that Georgia offense to 3 points. Coming different times.
6 points.
Well, 6, yeah. So, it was some blown coverage here and there, but, in the crunch time, they held it together. It's a win for Kevin Steele, but as a team, obviously it's a loss.
Yes.
Exceptional defensive performance.
All right, well, let's look back to before the Georgia game. Auburn's going in the Georgia game. They win Georgia, get Alabama A&M, and could go into the Iron Bowl with potential going into the playoff. Of course, they lose the game to Georgia. Now, where do you see the Auburn Tigers finishing out their season from here? Ben?
Well, Alabama A&M, I'm not skeptical. I know we're going to get a win. I hope we're 100% FPI on ESPN. But it's definitely confusing with the quarterback situation. We're not sure that Sean White is going to be healthy to play, so no one knows who's going to start. It could be Sean White, it could be John Franklin III, it could be Jeremy Johnson, and there's other things out there that Woody Barrett may get the start, a freshman. So we just don't really know. I'm wanting Gus Malzahn to start putting in his freshman receivers a lot more than he has these past few games. You saw a lot of drops from Marcus Davis and Tony Stevens, seniors. These freshmen have produced when they've been in. Kyle Davis especially, a lot on third down. His third down efficiency has been incredible this season. So I'm really hoping that the offense will click. But as the week comes up with Alabama A&M, we need to be careful with overplaying our starters. Kind of take it easy because we got a tough test in Alabama, and again in Bryant-Denny Stadium, and it's going to be rough but I don't think we'll win that game, I don't think they will win the game, but I think that it'll be closer than people think.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't many Iron Bowls that you can really single out, except until Nick Saban has gotten to Alabama, that have really ended in blowouts. That's always really a tough game between those two teams, but I still see Auburn finishing up the regular season 8-4 with a win over Alabama A&M and a loss to Alabama. So then you're looking at possibly one of those Floridian Bowl games that you get on January 1st or 2nd. Stuff like the Outback Bowl, or you're looking at Music City. It just kind of depends on how the rest of the SEC teams finish up. If LSU wins out, then they're probably going to the New Year's Six. But if Auburn can continue to win, they'll be the highest-ranked SEC team, and they'll go to a New Year's Six bowl game. Everything kind of hinges on how the rest of the SEC stacks up compared to where Auburn does, depending on where Auburn's going to go to a bowl game. I think Auburn will compete in their bowl game. Should be healthy by then. It's just I think Auburn's end of season, what they're looking for, kind of got a lot more murky with a loss to Georgia. It wouldn't be as murky if it was a loss to Alabama, but a loss to Georgia dropped Auburn, I think, just too far to recover from.
Well, prior to this Georgia game, I was really strong on Auburn beating Alabama because I wasn't really sure about Jalen Hurts' throwing ability. But, this past week he threw for 347 yards. And as we previously said, Auburn's DBs haven't looked their best. Yeah. So with that being said, if Sean White's not healthy, if Cameron Petway's not healthy, I really don't see the Auburn Tigers winning because Alabama's front seven is an NFL front seven. Right. So Sean White's going to have to throw the ball for them to beat Alabama.
Or whoever's in the backfield.
Whoever's in the backfield, yeah. So I agree with you. I see them going 8-4, one of those January 1st, January 2nd bowls. It's pretty okay season, but, I'm pretty sure they hope for better.
Yeah.
All right, well, stick with us. Up next, we predict not college football games, but college football rankings on AU Nation. You're watching Eli TV, Channel 6.
So I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born, and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Welcome back to AU Nation. This past weekend, number 2, Clemson, number 3, Michigan, number 4, Washington, all lost. Also in the top 10, number 8, Texas A&M lost, number 9, Auburn lost. So craziness is ensuing. What are your guys' predictions for the 4 college football playoff teams in the top ranking coming out this Tuesday night, Ben?
Starting off with number 1, I have the Alabama Crimson Tide. Obviously, they look like they could beat the Cleveland Browns. I mean,
I wouldn't say that. Okay, pump the brakes.
No, I know you're a Browns fan, but
no, but I think it's ignorant to believe that a college football team can beat an NFL team because Alabama's got 7 players that could probably go to the NFL, whereas Cleveland, all of their players are in the NFL.
I don't know. That is true. But yes, I think they're a very talented team.
Alabama's my number 1, and I'm pretty sure Alabama's everyone's number 1 on this show. There's no reason for them not to be the lone undefeated team left in college football aside from Western Michigan, and Western Michigan's not anywhere near any of our playoffs. So Alabama by far number 1.
I agree with them. Alabama is definitely number 1 team. Number 1 defense, sack, scoring on defense. It's clearly Alabama.
Scoring on everything but offense.
Right. They're pretty
My
good.
number 2 will have to be the Ohio State Buckeyes. They've definitely, with this downfall that's happened with the bottom 3 teams, I think they are definitely sliding in, and they look really good. J.T. Barrett's leading that team real well.
Yeah, I'm going to take Ohio State at number 2 as well. Kind of Michigan losing this week, though, not good for them, mainly because Penn State, if Ohio State were to go on and beat Michigan, Penn State would go to the Big Ten Championship game. So still some craziness left for the Big Ten picture, but Ohio State's at number 2 just because they pole vault ahead of everybody that lost.
I also agree, Ohio State, because, it was some that believe they should have been the number 4 team prior to this week. And, being that, Clemson and Michigan lost, definitely go Ohio State for number 2.
My number 3 is going to be the Louisville Cardinals. I love Lamar Jackson. I love what their offense does. They're just a complete team. They're really dominant. They've started out really hot, had that one bad loss, but they came back from it, and they're definitely one of the top teams.
So this is where it kind of got tricky for me, 3 and 4, because this isn't a BCS system anymore. It's not if you lose, you're out. Louisville's 1 loss, Clemson's 1 loss, Washington's 1 loss, and Michigan's 1 loss. Clemson, Washington, and Michigan all can still win their conference championships. If that does happen, I don't see Louisville staying in the playoff rankings. Now, with that being said, I have Louisville at 3rd this week because they won this week. They continue to move up, and their 1 loss is going to be respected a lot more than Clemson's and Michigan's. I think a loss to USC for Washington is probably the better one of this weekend. But for Louisville coming at 3rd, it's more of they pole vault in because those teams lost. But in the future, if those teams win their conference championship, Louisville's out.
Yeah.
I have to disagree with you, too. Only because if you've seen this past week, Texas A&M was ranked above Auburn because they said the head-to-head matchup. That is why I would not put Louisville above Clemson this week, just because they did play head-to-head. And I don't think the committee will put Louisville ahead of Clemson. Now, if Louisville wins out and Clemson does lose again, they're definitely in there. But this week, I'm going to keep Clemson at number 3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. That's where it got tricky for me, is because there was Clemson and Michigan right there where I was like, these teams could be over Louisville, especially considering they're still in conference championship contention.
No, I really do love that head-to-head comparison, definitely. I have Clemson as my number 4, and if that, like y'all said, it was very tricky in that situation, but their upset was not. They fought a lot more. I mean, Deshaun Watson set a passing record with 580 yards. Incredible performance for him. So he looked really good, and I have them at number 4.
I swear, you read my show notes every time you come on to this show. I got Clemson at number 4 as well. For everything you just said, I mean, they played a whole lot better in their upset than Michigan did, but you also have to look at the fact that Wilton Spate, possible that he might not be playing for Michigan anymore the remainder of the season. I think that goes against them as well. Clemson's loss, a little bit better than Michigan, so I'm going to put Clemson there, but still really tight for me between Clemson, Washington, and Michigan of who should be at 4 because Washington's loss was the best one of them all.
Right.
I mean, a loss never a good thing, but it was to a ranked team, so it wouldn't shock me if Washington was still 4th.
Yeah.
Now, number 4 was tricky for me because I wanted to put Michigan in there, but, they do play Ohio State. So the winner of that game is obviously going to be in the playoffs. But then again, like you said, Lamar Jackson, incredible player, and their team is the only team that won this week. So I think I'm going to put 2 ACC teams in there and give it to Louisville.
Yeah.
And that's the conference out of all of these that really should be considered for 2 because Big Ten's weaker than the ACC, and you can make an argument that this season the ACC has been better than the SEC with how bad the SEC East has been.
All right, well, one thing definitely to think about, as Noah didn't mention, Wilton Spate will actually not play again for the rest of the season. He has a broken collarbone. Something to consider moving on, especially with Michigan-Ohio State looming. The number 4 spot in the playoff picture is a big question mark. But after the break, we're going to talk some NFL. And you're watching Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6.
This is a place where it only takes a second to imagine your future. Grasp a new concept in class. Inspire a child's curiosity. Discover a real-world solution. Seize an unexpected opportunity.
There goes Davis!
This is where you gain the preparation, confidence, and determination to succeed. This is Auburn.
All right, we are 10 weeks into the NFL season. The playoff hunt is on, and it's expected to be an exciting finish to the end of the season. Aside from the 8-1 Dallas Cowboys, what is the NFC team that you think is the next biggest Super Bowl contender?
Ooh, This is tough. I looked at the standings.
Is it really that tough, though? The NFC is really just kind of a smorgasbord of garbage. Yeah. And then there's one team that just kind of rose to the top.
There's two teams. One, pains to say, but the Atlanta Falcons are actually contenders.
Okay, that's not the team that I was thinking rose to the top.
Yeah.
But I'm taking that back. It's going to be the Seattle Seahawks.
Thank
that
you.
are my contenders.
Thank you.
After the win against the Patriots
Yes.
last night, they definitely showed their dominance. And, I mean, I'd love to see a Cowboys versus Seahawks NFC championship. I think it'd be a really, really good game to watch. A defense versus a top-tier defense versus a top-tier offense led by rookie Dak Prescott. That is going to be a really good game if it ever comes to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would really be a test for Dak to go up against one of the better pass defenses in the NFC or in all of the NFL. Seattle, it really embodies defense wins championships, and for them to have beaten the best team in the NFL the other night against the New England Patriots, that's a big deal for me, and that's why they're kind of rising to the top. I know they've had some close losses this season, some bad losses, one of those being to the Saints. But then again, there was this other team that you mentioned just a moment ago, the Falcons. And the only reason why I'm putting the Falcons even in the conversation because they went back to being Chocolanta a couple days ago when they lost to the Eagles. The only reason why I'm putting Atlanta in the conversation is because the NFC has been utter garbage down the stretch.
Yes.
Well, being a Cowboys fan, I really hope the Cowboys make it all the way. But if it was another contender, I would have to give it to the Seahawks. Russell Wilson, he's been the healthiest he's been all season. Cam Chancellor's back. Tom Brady was said to be the leader for the MVP race, and they held him without a touchdown. Yep. It's only one thing you can do to stop Gronkowski is get in his face, and Cam Chancellor did that. Their defense is looking great since he's been back. Richard Sherman, all of them are clicking. Jimmy Graham and Russell are clicking on all. It's just the Seahawks are looking pretty good.
Yeah.
They look just like when they went to the Super Bowl against the Broncos.
Russell Wilson is beginning to look like Russell Wilson again.
Right.
At the beginning of the year, he did not. Last night, he looked like Super Bowl Russell Wilson.
Exactly.
All right, well, guys, how about them Cowboys? Moving on to the AFC, though, the 7-2 New England Patriots are far and above the favorites. But what other teams in the AFC do you think are Super Bowl contenders?
Like the NFC, I have two. And I'm sticking with one, though. And yes, you're going to, y'all may judge me on it, but I think the Oakland Raiders have a chance. They are looking really good. Derek Carr, and honestly, this is don't hot take, but I think they have the top receiving core in the NFL with Crabtree and Amari Cooper. And Derek Carr is leading that offense. Latavius Murray is a really good. Their defense is not up to par. It's not a Super Bowl defense, but I mean,
it's not anywhere close to a Super Bowl defense.
Absolutely not. But there's 72 big wins against the Broncos, especially their divisional rival. And so I'm very impressed by this Oakland team, and I think they can contend for a Super Bowl. Don't hear that much.
Well, let me expand on that. I also believe the Oakland Raiders could be, contend the AFC. Derek Carr, who's has some MVP hype about him, like you said, Crabtree and Amari Cooper, dominant receivers. The offensive line is what I'm impressed with. They played the Broncos. They pushed them back. They rushed for 218 yards on 43 carries. That's amazing against the reigning Super Bowl champions. And defense, Khalil Mack, he needs some help. But he's a great player, a great young guy to lead your team. He can take some slack off Bruce Irvin. Mario Edwards is supposed to be coming back. I'm really liking what the Raiders are doing right now.
If they could get some draft picks in this upcoming draft for their defense, that would look like a really good team.
They would.
Don't get me wrong, the Raiders are a talented team, and they are amongst the contenders, okay? But there's another team I got on my mind that nobody ever talks about, okay? And it's Andy Reid's Kansas City Chiefs.
That's the second
team for me.
The Chiefs beat the Raiders 26-10. Now, mind you, it was early on in the season, but the Chiefs are not being talked about whatsoever.
Yes.
Andy Reid and his play card of magic is taking the Chiefs further and further closer to the AFC title game throughout this season. But it's also something about saying the Chiefs could go to a Super Bowl that's kind of tripping me up. That's almost like saying the Falcons could go to a Super Bowl. I'm not quite there yet, but I think that the Chiefs are someone to look at. It's really been one of these seasons where both divisions have had that runaway squad, and it is the Patriots and the Cowboys.
You see in Sunday's game, the win over the Panthers, great defensive plays from Eric Berry and Marcus Peters. Those were fantastic plays, clutch plays.
The defense is incredible.
It is.
And you can look at the Panthers' record and say that the Panthers are a bad football team. The Panthers are not a bad football team. Since that bye week, they're rejuvenated. So that win for the Chiefs yesterday tells me a lot about how good of a team they are.
Exactly.
All right, well, something interesting to think about the Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs, same division. But moving on from the Super Bowl to some teams that are probably not going to make the playoff picture, are there any coaches in the NFL that are on the hot seat this year?
I mean, of course, Hugh Jackson out of Cleveland, 0-10. They definitely should get rid of him. But another one has to be Chip Kelly at the San Francisco 49ers. I know it's been his first season, but he just has not looked good. And ever since he's come to the NFL, I just don't think he's looked like he was in college. I don't think he ever should have left college.
He had a good first year. But since then,
it's just been absolute demolishing by everybody else. But he shouldn't have left Oregon, in my opinion. I mean, he has a quarterback right now whose favorite play is the quarterback kneel. And so, I mean,
ouch.
Yeah, he doesn't look, I just don't think he's that good of an NFL coach. And for teams if he does get fired by the 49ers, I don't think teams should pursue him. I think he should go back to the college where he dominated.
I think you have to look at what is on the roster for the San Francisco 49ers right now, and it's not a lot of good.
Yeah.
I think that's really hurting him. But then you got to look back at his time with the Eagles, and he had a lot of good on the roster, and then he traded it away. So I think really what was part of his downfall was this co-GM role that he had alongside being a head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. That really resulted in his downfall. But I'm going to take Mike McCarthy as this coach that's on the hot seat. You're 4-5 in Green Bay. That's not a good thing. Not a lot of coaches will survive that kind of record. And it really doesn't look like things are going to go up for the Packers, especially after the thrashing they received at the hands of the Tennessee Titans. Wow, haven't said that in a good 15 years. And so that's definitely, there's some problems in Green Bay. And you saw the alert signals for the past 2 years. A lot of disappointment in Green Bay. Super Bowls are far removed from any Packers fan memory, or either that or they're just living in nostalgia. And they're not going to get close with McCarthy still at the helm. They need to make some changes.
Those cheeseheads do not like losing.
It's rotten.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back with Chip Kelly. If you look at some coaches, Nick Saban was at LSU, went to Miami, terrible. Went back to Bama, probably the greatest dynasty in college.
Yes.
Some coaches are just not meant for the NFL. He had a dynasty at Oregon. They were ranked high. Oregon has been ranked in I don't know how long. Like you said, the Eagles, he had a decent first season. Downhill after that, 49ers. Yes, it's his first season. You can't really call him a bust after one season, but how far are you willing to let it go? He should just go back to Oregon. It's time to let it go.
I think as a whole, the 49ers need to look at their front office, other than just the head coach. There are a lot of teams, including the Browns, because I know you talk about Hugh Jackson. They need to look at their front office because we talk about head coaches getting fired. It's not always head coach's fault. Because I'll tell you, Chip Kelly might have lost his mojo when he came to the NFL, but he's still a good head coach. And I have a feeling he could succeed in the NFL more than a guy like Nick Saban just because of his scheme. It's just these front offices really are hurting their head coaches in terms of how they build their teams for them.
I think there's more colleges in the nation that'd be happy with Chip Kelly than just Oregon. But we close out today's show with our favorite segment, or at least my favorite segment, and that's trivia. Will the legend Noah the Ocho Gardner get back in the win column? Who knows? We won't. We'll find out in a minute. We'll be back on Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6.
I hope that you've been able to learn a strong work ethic surrounded by character, integrity, perseverance, so that when your 1 second comes, you'll be prepared for it.
Chris Davis.
45, there goes Davis!
Your 1 second, our 1 second is now. And our lives have been guided by the principles of one of the greatest academic institutions in the country, Auburn University.
Welcome back to AU Nation. Let's answer some trivia questions. Each panelist will get 4 questions worth 1 point each, and the 5th question will be asked to all the panelists and is worth 3 points. In the end, I just give away points however I want. If you make me laugh, make me smile, you get a bonus point. We'll see who gets the most points at the end. But the first question goes to Ben Bracken. Ben, the Cleveland Browns moved to 0-10 this season after a loss to what team?
The Baltimore Ravens.
That is correct, Baltimore Ravens, for a point. Noah, your question, which NBA team was the last to get their first win of this season?
Philadelphia 76ers.
That's correct. That's correct. Stefan, your first question. This team has the most wins in the NBA with 9 wins.
That'd be the Cleveland Cavaliers.
That's not right.
Oh, man.
That is not right. Ben for the steal.
The Los Angeles Clippers.
That is correct. 9 wins for the Clippers. The Cavs have 8 wins, by the way. All right, and Ben, your question. This player scored a career-high 47 points against the Lakers on Sunday, staying in the NBA.
That will be the Kansas Jayhawks graduate, Andrew Wiggins.
You know, I don't think he
didn't graduate. He's a freshman.
Yeah.
He was a freshman.
All right, I was going to give you a bonus
Wiggins,
point. It is Andrew. I was going to give you a bonus point, but not anymore.
Dang.
Sorry. All right, Noah, your question. This female MMA star announced her retirement after her loss this past weekend.
Miesha Tate.
Miesha Tate is correct. All right, Stefan, trying to get on the board here with a point. The Broncos came away with a victory after a returned what? Was it a blocked extra point, blocked punt, or an interception?
It was an extra point.
Blocked extra point is correct, and everybody's on the board with a point. Ben, your next question. College basketball is officially underway. Kansas lost their first game to what team? Is it Wisconsin, Michigan, or Indiana? Michigan State or Indiana?
They lost to the Indiana Hoosiers.
That is correct. Number 3 team, Kansas, lost in their opener. Ben, you are pulling away with 4. Noah, you have 2 points, trying to make it 3. Noah, which ML team has 3 players win MLB Golden Gloves this past week? Was it the Giants, the Nationals, or the Rangers? 3 Golden Gloves.
I'm going to go with the Rangers.
Nope. Stefan, for the steal, was it the Giants, the Nationals, or not the Rangers?
Is it the Nationals?
No, that's not correct. Ben, is it the Giants, or the Giants?
God.
I swear, if he gets a point for this.
Oh, he's getting a point for it.
Oh, my word.
Oh, he's getting a point for it.
Giants.
Giants is correct. Stefan, your question. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers fell to 4-5 on the season after allowing this team to score 47 points on them.
47 points on them. Is it the Chargers?
Oh, I wish it was the Chargers.
No. Can I change my answer?
You're way behind. I'll give it to you. What you got?
The Titans.
That's correct. The Tennessee
Nice.
Titans, Marcus Mariota, putting up the hurt on the Packers. Ben Bracken, your final question. Steph Curry set an NBA record with 13 three-pointers made against what NBA team?
Goodness.
It's a tough one.
It's not a multiple choice.
It's not a multiple
take a
choice.
guess and just say the New Orleans Pelicans.
That is correct. Ben is pulling away.
I was hoping you missed
Noah.
that.
Oh, sorry. Noah, your final question. Michigan State basketball picked up their first loss of the year after losing in the final seconds to what team?
The Arizona Wildcats.
Arizona Wildcats. All right, and Stefan, your final question. The Big 12 hasn't gotten much attention this season, but what football team is currently in first place in the Big 12?
Big 12.
Big 12.
Is it?
It's a tough one.
It's not USC. It's
Get 3 seconds.
pass.
Pass. Ben?
The Oklahoma Sooners.
Oklahoma Sooners is correct. And your final question, even though Ben's pretty much got this one locked down for 3 points, everyone's going to answer it. Whoever gets it right gets the points. If nobody gets it, then nobody gets the points. So this running back leads the NFL with touchdowns at 12. Ben, who is your guess?
Ooh.
And everybody's going to guess on this one.
Ooh, there's 2 that's on my mind. I'm going to have to say Ezekiel Elliott.
Ezekiel Elliott. Noah.
With Ben's answer, Ezekiel Elliott.
And Stefan.
Melvin Gordon.
Melvin Gordon. Nobody got it. It's LeGarrette Blount.
Ah, dang. He's
Actually,
on my fantasy
LeGarrette
team.
Blount. And let's do. I have another one. I have a bonus question on here.
Perfect.
Why not? Right.
Perfect.
Very similar topic. Which 2 quarterbacks lead the NFL with 24 passing touchdowns? There are 2 answers here. 2 quarterbacks. Ben, who you got?
Oh, I'm going to have to say Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers.
Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers. Who you got, Noah?
Riding Ben's answers all the way through. Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers.
All right, and Stefan?
Same.
Wow, all right. Well, I'll just give everybody 1 point. It's Matt Ryan and Drew Brees.
Brees.
Ben, you won.
Drew.
You won by a
Brees?
lot.
It's not.
If you combine everybody else's score, you still win. So you get a hug from me after the show. But that wraps up today's show. Thanks for watching AU Nation. We won't have an episode next week because we won't have school. But we hope you have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.